Come on, come on. Well, hello, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo. And as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Joe Boo Sports Report. Because without you guys, this wouldn't work. Let me thank everybody for a 2017 season that was unbelievable as far as the Joe Boo Sports Report goes. We had a great time. We met a lot of you guys out there. It has been fantastic, but it's only the beginning. We're just going to take off from here. And let me give a shout out to everybody who has donated as far as for the drawing. We're going to draw at 9:30 the Joe Boo autographed jersey by Charles Haley. And so we've added a few more names to the list. So let me make sure I go ahead and let Joseph know. Williams and Maya Aurora Williams, they've been added. Daniel Dominguez, Victor has been, Orville, Tammy, and yeah, all of you guys have been added to that. And don't worry, if you haven't gotten in, if you do a super chat tonight before the drawing, you get added to the list. But we'll be doing a drawing on a weekly basis. Sorry, Cowboys X Factor, no call-ins tonight because I'm actually reporting live from Jacksonville, downtown. Yeah, Jacksonville Jaguars, Jacksonville. So I'm actually on the road. We're doing some stuff for United Way, getting ready for the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, our Cowboys aren't getting there. But I told you guys about the United Way drawing with the NFL to support character education. Well, this is part of the stuff that's actually getting ready for it. So I'm going to be doing a photo shoot tomorrow to help out with this virtual reality thing that we have. But anyway, we'll share some of that stuff tomorrow. Let's get on to our Dallas Cowboys. And our Cowboys can't seem to do anything without drama. We've all heard about Derek Dooley, who was fired but not fired, and we're waiting to see if he is in fact fired or not fired. I guess he's going to be the first sacrificial lamb, so to speak, and I'm not sure how many other people are going to be fired. You've got Dak Prescott saying that he loves Scott Linehan and wants to have him back. And you have to wonder if that is just him being politically correct and, of course, supporting people, because you never want to say anything negative about, your family or your job and things like that. You always want to keep everything in-house. But Dak Prescott basically has said, yeah, I love Scott Linehan. He's doing a great job. I want to see him back. That remains to be seen because, we did a great job with him a couple years ago when everything was perfect. But it seems like everything is literally predictable. It's vanilla. We've been running the same thing for so long that everybody knows exactly what we're trying to do. And because we are not at the top of our game, between injuries, Tyron Smith, having him hurt, there's a major drop-off with him. With Dez Bryant, who's saying he has had tendonitis in his leg all year, who can't seem to really get open, much less hold on to the ball. With Ezekiel Elliott suspended for 6 games, now's where coaching comes in. It's easy to go ahead and know you can run the ball 5 yards before you're even touched and then be able to just hit anybody and everybody because they're worried about stopping the run. When you can't run, then you have to get a little creative, and I have not seen much creativity with it. So it'll be interesting to see in the next day or two if Scott Linehan is fired and if Todd Haley becomes available and not a head coaching candidate, if he does in fact become our offensive coordinator. First question there was we pick actually 19th in the draft. Winning yesterday, I guess it's a moral victory. Jason Garrett can now say he's had 3 winning seasons as opposed to saying he's only had 2 in 7 years. But in the grand scheme of things, it did absolutely nothing for us. It actually lost us 3 spots as far as the draft goes. So there's that. I don't know. How do you guys feel about us getting that victory yesterday? Because in the end, even had we beat Seattle, we still wouldn't have made the playoffs. So our die was pretty much cast once we lost to Atlanta, the Rams, and Green Bay, that the chances of making the playoffs were going to be slim or none. Happy New Year's to you too, Louise. Championship ain't a Super Bowl. Yeah, you Eagles, I know you guys are feeling good because, you guys won the division, and hats off to you guys. I congratulate you guys totally. We had a bunch of Eagle fans who were at the bar yesterday and stuff, and they were not your typical Eagle fans. I mean, they weren't ready to fight. They were actually gentlemen and nice ladies. But I got to ask you, Eagles, do you guys really feel great going into playoffs right now with Nick Foles as your quarterback? You know, he did really good against the Giants. Let me say again, he did really good against the Giants, having all kinds of turnovers and making it a short field. But now you've got the playoffs, and you're playing good teams. You're not playing the Giants. Regardless of what you saw from the Giants just against the Redskins, you know, they're both bad teams. So I got to wonder if you guys feel good going to the playoffs. But, you know, we'll have to wait and see how that goes. And I'm going to definitely be talking with Tom Donnelly, the moron. We'll definitely get him on here before it's all over with. Shout out to your boy Scotty. You know, Eagles against the world. Well, Eagles, you know, I tell you what, Scotty. If it's not the world against the Cowboys, I don't know what is. I mean, we can't get holding calls. Literally, they are grabbing guys around the neck from behind and not getting calls. It has been freaking ridiculous. You know, and honestly, I know I'm a homer. I'm a Cowboy fan, and it amazes me when people come in and say, you're a homer. Well, I am a Dallas Cowboy blogger, so what do you expect? But even if you're not a Cowboy fan, do you honestly feel that what happened with Zeke Elliott was fair and just? If that was your player, would you still feel the same way with him being a Cowboy fan? Because I look around and see that Zeke Elliott has now had the maximum, the biggest suspension ever for domestic violence. 6 games. You've had people convicted since this policy went in. Josh Brown originally got 1 game. And of course, after he was out of the league, they said, oh, we're going to add 6 more games to it. But who cared? He was done with football. You've got guys like Landry in Miami who you've seen the video of him throwing his woman in the car and everything else, and there's a case right there. But the NFL said, hey, there's not enough evidence. You've seen guys like Gillette for the Redskins who got tased by the police and things, who got to serve his 1-game suspension for domestic violence while he was injured. Yet Zeke Elliott got 6 games without even being charged or arrested. So we've had a lot of things that have gone against us, some of our own making, like Jason Garrett and Scott Linehan and the offense, who they figured that after last season where the offense did great, we don't have to worry about anything. All we have to do is show up. Well, when you just plan on just showing up, you get bitch slapped, and that's what happened to the Cowboys. Happy New Year's to you, Central. Steve, let's see. Yeah, well, trade deal, you know, at this point, there's nothing we can do about it. I mean, he can go ahead and try and sue her for, you know, in civil court. But in the end, it's not going to change anything. The NFL is like the mafia. They're going to get you sooner or later. It doesn't matter who you are. If they have it in for you, you're done. In retrospect, it would have been best if he had just taken the suspension early part of the year. It wouldn't have been a distraction. We wouldn't have been planning for him, then not planning for him, and back and forth. But hindsight is 20/20 at this point. There's not a thing that we can do about it. So this season is a loss. But unlike past seasons where we've gone 8-8, 8-8, 8-8, and 8-8, there is some light at the end of the tunnel. We are not in the cap hell that usually our team is. Usually, you know, when I talk to people down there and stuff, say, hey, you know, let's look at this free agent, that free agent. And of course, the thing is, with what money? We're $20+ million over the cap. You've got to get rid of people before you can even think about signing your own guys, much less going after any free agents. Now, we only have $15 million, but as opposed to having $25 million in debt, we're actually in pretty good shape, and there's a lot of places where the team can get some money if they do want to be a player in free agency. And I believe we got to stop bargain basement shopping with some of these free agents, you know, the Grant Thorntons, the Nolan Carrolls. You know, we've basically been pulling up other people's garbage as opposed to trying to get a couple of premier guys. And I'm not advocating trying to build a whole team with free agents. but you have to have enough veteran presence on a team. And that is, I think, the biggest thing that we are missing. Because I look at our defense. Our defense has some great guys. Marcus Lawrence, fantastic season. Still has a little bit of the back issues. Hopefully it's not something that's going to curtail his career. Sean Lee, when he plays, is fantastic, but Sean Lee is not that vocal, in-your-face type of guy. You've got young guys, Owuzie, Lewis, Woods. Those guys are going to be really good players. But I still believe we need a veteran with an edge. That's why I was talking before about a Richard Sherman back there. Somebody who's an in-your-face person to motivate people. Because I look at the team. A team usually has a coach that's like that. A guy who will, and it doesn't have to be the head coach, but a coach who's fiery. And we don't seem to have a single person, player or coach that is that in-your-face type of guy. They're too docile. You got to realize football is war. And you better be ready to run through a brick wall. But I'm not sure that we have that. Tradion, you retracted that. I'm not sure what you're saying. The lead made him pay. Oh, God. Kenneth. Oh, Kenneth. You had to bring up Calais Campbell. That was my one pick last year. I said, I've been blessed to do a lot of cool things. Like I said, with working with United Way, I've got to meet and work, do charity events and stuff with some NFL players and getting to know them beyond the field, because what we always forget is these guys are people too. They hurt. They have families. They have friends. They have problems outside of football and things like that, but they are real people. So we forget that. And getting to know some of these guys like Calais Campbell, I know Calais Campbell is a beast on the field, but he also has a great mind and a great head on his shoulder and is a person who cares, who gets it. And that's when I was looking at it saying, you may only see 7-8 sacks every year from him, but you're seeing 7-8 sacks every year from him. A guy who doesn't miss time, who will give it all. Literally, he was taken off in a stretcher and played the next week. And that's why I was looking at saying, that's the kind of guy, if you're going to go out in free agency, you get a war daddy like him. Unfortunately, we didn't have the money at that time to do that, or the thought of getting that veteran. The Cowboys have been bargain basement shopping for the most part in free agency. So we'll have to wait and see if the Cowboys do anything. We know Earl Thomas says he wants to be here. And after that whole fiasco, I got to believe that Seattle is thinking, we've got a lot of overpriced talent right now that we can't afford. And since he's already talking about leaving, maybe let's kick his can to the curb and save some money. Tony Romo for offensive coordinator. Everybody's been talking about Tony Romo as head coach, offensive coordinator, quarterback coach. But I'm not sure that he'll want to leave the booth to do that. I got to think that he's really enjoying life doing that. The only thing that I might say might be a reason for him to do that is being on the road 17 weeks a year. That having his wife and his family and all that maybe, I could coach in Dallas and be home. That would be about the only reason, because I don't think it'll be money. I don't think it'll be fame. I think he's enjoying what he's doing. So I'm not sure that would happen. I don't think I would mind seeing that happen because, again, when I say you need a veteran presence, when you look at most of the modern quarterbacks that have been really good, you've had a veteran in front of them teaching them. Tom Brady had Drew Bledsoe. His first year, he watched Drew Bledsoe. Drew Bledsoe got hurt. Boom, he took over. Eli Manning had Kurt Warner there to watch. You had Joe Montana was there with Steve Young. You had Brett Favre there with Aaron Rodgers. So you have those veterans that are there that you're watching, learning from, or that are on the bench that know the game and can see stuff in real time. And I believe between Mark Sanchez and Tony Romo last year, they were there with Dak Prescott. But I just don't see, and maybe I'm wrong, But in the games that I went to this year, and I'm watching the sidelines and stuff, I'm watching the bench, I don't see the coaching staff there with guys when they come off the field, teaching, changing, letting them know, hey, here's what they're doing. When he steps forward, I want you to hit that out. I don't see a lot of that real-time adjustment. The Cowboys always come out and play well in the first half. The problem is, come the second half, when stuff starts changing. So hopefully, maybe we end up getting a new look, a new offense, new defense in here, get people having to guess what we're doing or relearn what we're doing, and maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to take a step next year. Yes, bring in Josh McDaniels. I think Josh McDaniels may be a head coaching candidate more so than an offensive coordinator at this point. You know, there's not that many people that are considered candidates. And as we start seeing, you know, some of these coaches are getting fired, you know, it's the mad scramble. It's looking like John Gruden is going to be going to the Raiders, which will be interesting itself. Lovie Smith, I wouldn't mind seeing Lovie Smith on the defense there as a defensive coordinator at all. But I think you need somebody who's been there before. The thing with Jason Garrett, to me, is Jason Garrett really didn't have that much experience coming here. He really didn't. Everything has been on-the-job training, and you would think after 7 years that we'd get it straight. But you'll remember, after 8-8, 8-8, 8-8, Garrett was kind of on the hot seat. Tony Romo, people wanted to get rid of him. They said he's a bum, and it's almost like exactly deja vu. They took the play calling away from Jason Garrett, and Scott Linehan took over on it. Did really good in 2014. 2014, DeMarco Murray had an incredible year. Tony Romo had the best year of his career. It was great. It was a little bit different offense, just a little bit. It was tweaked. Teams hadn't figured it out. 2015, after having the Romo-friendly offense, when Romo got hurt, it went down the toilet. So we're kind of back to the point where we're still kind of that Tony Romo-friendly offense. We're going to need to make it Dak-friendly. So we'll see what we get when we bring in another coach. Yeah, like I said, I believe it. I could be completely wrong. This is just my opinion and what I've seen out there and what I think. My opinion completely. Don't have any inside knowledge, but in looking at it, you can tell that it's not the same team. And it's not just Dak, because I get a lot of flack. I mean, I wore my Dak Prescott t-shirt. I believe in the guy. I want him to succeed. And if you don't want to succeed, I don't understand why you don't. I keep hearing people say, oh, you need to draft a quarterback in the first round. Okay, how many draft picks are we going to give up to try and move up? Are we going to be a Washington Redskins? Give up 3 firsts and a second to try and get an RG3 and have him be a bust? You know, 2 years ago, we wanted Paxton Lynch in the first round. What if we got that guy and not Dak Prescott? Yeah. So, as bad as Dak played, as bad as the team played, still got 9 wins. Still got 22 wins in 2 seasons. I don't believe Tony Romo had any. I think he had 1 in a 2-year period of 22 wins. That's not bad for just a second-year quarterback. So relax, pump your brakes, get off the guy's back, and let's see what he does next year. Calvin, I agree. Coaching 100%. Tony or Troy for a quarterback coach, yeah. Again, I'm not sure either of those two would want to come back to be a quarterback coach. How does Dak's overall record look without Zeke Elliott? 3-3, 500. Not fantastic, but not exactly awful either. Oh, we still want to see Cooper Rush play. That's the amazing thing is how the backup quarterback is always the most popular guy on every team. I just can't get over the trolls 2 weeks before they'll be gone. Yeah. What's the markets for coaches? Tony Dungy. Steelers country. Wow. Okay. Well, shout out to you for joining. Tony Dungy. Tony Dungy was a great defensive coach. I wouldn't mind seeing a Tony Dungy, but I don't think Tony Dungy wants to come back for Jerry Jones. That's, reaching at straws. Well, jackass, when you say that Dak Prescott isn't going to get any better next year, take a look at Jared Goff from last year to this year. The difference of him, basically, everybody's saying he's a bust. Nobody even thought he would have an opportunity to start this year. But they brought in a new coach, a new philosophy, a motivator, and all of a sudden, he looks like the real deal. So all you people who seem to know everything about football, I will dare say that football is 100% unpredictable. You've had guys that look like they just don't get it, and all of a sudden, boom, the light goes on, and they do fantastic. Did you see DeMarcus Lawrence getting 14 and a half sacks this season? Because we were in the market thinking, we got to draft a guy and have him start day one to get a pass rush. But yet, lo and behold, some people were saying that DeMarcus Lawrence, we should cut him. Yeah. What if we had cut him and listened to people who said, he's a bust, get rid of the bum? So I'm going to say, hold off on that just yet. Give the man a chance. Because take a look at 2013. The same crap that you're saying right now, everybody said about Tony Romo. Tony Romo made an interception just like Dak did last week. He got fooled. 3 picks against the Redskins. Everybody, all the talking heads, everybody in the world, all the fans out there said, we can't ever win with Tony Romo. Tony Romo's an idiot. He can't win in the playoffs. Tony, oh no. Tony the choker. Tony the Mr. Anti-December. And then what happened the next year, 2014? Best year of his career. So I'm not going to be on that bandwagon to say, kick the man to the curb and start over, because I guarantee you, if the Cowboys were stupid enough to cut him, there would be a lot of teams lining up to grab him, especially when you look at a guy like Kirk Cousins, who's going to command about $30 million next year. Yeah, okay. Earl Brown, I actually was going to do a video about Cole Beasley, and a lot of people didn't realize this, but Cole Beasley has an out on his contract. And the Cowboys, this is the hard part about football, because it is a business. We get attached to players, we forget that they get old and they can't perform, and sometimes we hold on for them too long. A team like New England never holds on to anybody too long. Very rarely do you see retirements of players in New England. They get rid of them when they can still get something for them. They don't wait for them to be broke down like, say, a Dez Bryant, or too expensive to trade. So Cole Beasley is one of those guys that right now, if he becomes a cut, you save $3.5 million. The question you ask is, you got Ryan Switzer. You played him yesterday. He didn't do too bad. Cole Beasley, 36 receptions this year, $3.5 million. Ryan Switzer on a rookie deal. That's peanuts. Cole Beasley here. That's where the business side comes in, and it's possible that we do lose Cole Beasley. Yeah, I could see him going to New England, Kevin. That definitely, he would definitely fit their scheme perfectly. Well, Jason Witten, Jonathan Payne. Jason Witten says, he's not ready to tie him up. He still feels good and is ready to come back. Now, the question will be is, and here's the thing, I'm kind of on the fence with this, because Jason Witten can still play. He's not going to get you downfield, but he's reliable as far as the catches go. And if you can get a wide receiver who can get downfield in separation, he will become more effective. You can't look at anybody on our Cowboys offense and say they had a great season, because it's all a function of everything else. You got to have the running game to set up the pass the way this offense is designed. If you don't have a running game, you're screwed. And what happened with this year is Dak Prescott is not, generally speaking, going to force the ball. Tony Romo would go ahead and throw a jump ball to Dez Bryant in a heartbeat. He'd take those shots, 50-50. And that's why we became known as Tony Oh No, because either it was going to be a great touchdown pass or it might be intercepted. Dak's DNA won't let him do that. He is going to hit the open guy. And everybody keeps saying he's just a ding in the quarterback. Well, he's not going to try and hit a guy if he's not open. He's just not. He is worried about turning over the ball, and everybody will talk about how many times he turned over the pick sixes, but how many of those were tip balls? Quite a few of them. I dare say half of them were. So, yeah, his numbers look bad. Yeah, the offense looked bad, but it was bad all the way around. Here's as far as that argument goes. Here's the thing. Let's think about this now. Tony Romo had 2013. We had historically the worst defense that the Dallas Cowboys had. I'll give you that. And we went 8-8. Let me say it again. We had the worst defense that we've ever had, and we went 8-8. You can't honestly say that this defense was good on a consistent basis because every game that Sean Lee played in, we got lit up. We scored 30 points back-to-back at home and lost. Let me say that one more time again. We scored 30-plus points, 2 games back-to-back and lost. Something that's never happened with the Cowboys before this season because Sean Lee wasn't there. So don't give me this that the Cowboys defense was just 85 Bears now, because there were not. Until we started getting Lewis, Awuzie in there, and Woods, and Kevon Frazier, the last 4 or 5 games of the season, this defense did not do a whole lot. Take a look at the Denver game and tell me that this defense was better than that 2013 defense. So don't give me that crap. We still don't have the defense yet. We have parts of the defense, but we're not consistent enough on the defense. Well, that'll be interesting. Randy Gregory. Boy, haven't thought about Randy Gregory for a while. I need to do some more research on him because he can be reinstated next year. The question is, after being off from football for this long, having gone through the issues that he's had, how much is he going to be able to give you at least right off the bat? That's kind of my question. But I actually feel decent about our defensive line if we can re-sign DeMarcus Lawrence to a contract that's not over the top. I'm concerned about David Irving and the concussion, the fact that he missed as many games as he did going down there. For him to be dealing with those concussion issues for that long is not a good thing. I think Taco, off-season of work, the first year as a pass rusher is hard. You can't expect a guy to become, Lawrence Taylor his first year. That's few and far between. But he started playing better as it's going on. So I'm okay with our defensive line. We need another guy to go in there, but I'm okay with the defensive line. Linebacker, to me, is the bigger concern at the moment. Sean Lee will be back next year, but you don't know how many games Sean Lee can play. Jalen Smith, third on the team in tackles, did a hell of a job, stayed on the field 16 games, the healthiest linebacker we had. But I'm still not sure that that foot is going to really be able to allow him to be a premier linebacker. A lot of his tackles, he's getting down the field and getting carried downfield. We need a guy who can lay the wood and stop the guy at the point of impact. So we are going to need another linebacker. There's a guy who, another one of those guys that I'll talk about, and people will say, you don't know what you're talking about, but may be a free agent, and that's Demario Davis. With the Jets. DeMario went to Siberia with the Cleveland Browns. Had a hard time, but who doesn't in Cleveland? Thought about hanging it up, signed a dirt cheap contract with the Jets, had 124 tackles and 5 sacks as a middle linebacker. And I think he was only paid $2.5–3 million last year. You get a guy like that, so you have some depth. If you can re-sign Hitchens to a contract that's pretty good, you keep Sean Lee, you get a Jalen Smith, you draft another linebacker. Now all of a sudden you have a good starting linebacking core, and you've got some guys that can fill in when those injuries happen. That's the problem. That's the thing that's been missing here. And it is 9:30. All right. So in here, guys, these are all of you guys out here who have been helping to support the channel. And what we're going to do is we're going to be taking this channel to a whole nother level. I'm going to be upgrading and redoing the studio for next year. We're going to be doing more and more events and stuff. And with your guys' help, it's going to make that a little bit easier because it costs a good chunk of change here. So what we're giving away tonight is I have a Jobu jersey that's autographed by Charles Haley that the winner's going to get. Last week we drew for a mini helmet that was signed by Jay Novacek. Billy Sargucci got that. We actually posted that picture and stuff online. So let me go through here and see who our winner chicken dinner is tonight. And who is it? Dallas Cowboys News. Okay, so Dallas Cowboys News, email me at cowboysmark94@gmail.com because you are the winner. Cowboys News. And don't worry, if you didn't win tonight, we're going to be doing this every Monday night. So once you do any super chats or any donations, you are in. Matt, you're back in for the next one. Sign you up. Okay. Appreciate that. So any super chats or if you do any donations by going to cowboyjobu.com, you're entered into it, and we're going to make sure every week we do a drawing. I think what we're going to do for next week is I have a Jobu t-shirt that's autographed by Bill Bates. So I think that will be next Monday's prize. No, we all want that trash Dak shirt. Okay, ha ha ha. You're not getting my Dak shirt. One thing that kind of bothers me, but I was looking at it, and you guys have been great. The show has grown more than I ever thought it would. The Collins show that we did last week was incredible. We're going to be doing a lot more of those, so that way you guys can be part of the show, and you guys can vent your frustrations or give us your ideas and things. But a comment that was made before the show started, because you had some of you guys that are here waiting for the show to take off, is, how can I be a Cowboys fan coming from Virginia? And to me, that is the most ridiculous thing that anybody could say. We have 50 states in the union. There's only 32 teams in the NFL. If I leave my house, between my house in New York, I got the Jets, the Giants, I've got the Eagles, I've got Baltimore, and I got the Redskins. If I go a little bit west, I got the Steelers, I got the Browns, I got Cincinnati, and I got the Lions. All within a 6-hour drive from my house. So technically, how is it that I have to be the homer that has to be a Redskin fan? So what is the guy who lives in Omaha, Nebraska? Who's his team supposed to be for? Are they just not supposed to root for football? And with this day and age of the internet, there is no distance anymore. When I grew up, it made sense that you said, okay, I'm going to support the hometown team, because you weren't getting stats on the Arizona Cardinals or the LA Rams. You only heard about your home team. But now, my man Mark, who's in England, knows everything the same time I do about everybody. And I dare say, if you're a Dallas Cowboy fan in Philadelphia, you are a bigger fan than a lot of the ones in Texas, because if you're out there showing that, you're risking life and limb to support your team. I grew up, in D.C. when the Redskins were good. My football teammates were the defensive coordinator's son for the Redskins. My crosstown rival was the Redskins. We were off from school to go to the Redskins Super Bowl parade. I had the opportunity to sit in Joe Gibbs' box if I did one thing: rooted for the Redskins. Now, being a teenager and thinking about being in a luxury box to watch a game, all I had to do was be a bandwagon Redskin fan. Uh-uh. That's being a true blue, diehard Dallas Cowboy fan. So stop this crap of you can't be a Cowboys fan if you're not from Dallas. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. In fact, I need to do a video because that's the dumbass comment of the day. Oh, there's my Cowboys family. Who won the drawing? Dallas Cowboys News won the drawing. So let me actually type that in here. Sorry, I'm trying to type this at the same time. There we go. So Cowboys News, email me at cowboysmark94@gmail.com with your address so that way we can get you sent your autographed jersey. Look, Trent Mache from Australia, the land down under, he's a Cowboys fan. Congratulations. Check 837 comments. Tell me what you about 2018. Okay. Adam Davis, can you just kind of remind me because the comments are way, and I don't know, they're not time stamped, so I can't tell what's what and who's who. Just kind of type here what it is that you want to talk about. Need subs, okay. Well, in Rod Martinelli's defense, the defense was putrid in 2013. We got rid of DeMarcus Ware, Hatcher went, Sean Lee was out, and the defense got better, and it has steadily gotten better. However, I just believe that our defense, the Tampa 2, I just believe it's just outdated. We don't have the type of players that they had back there. And sometimes, a defense works really well because you have the right players. You can run, if you have the right guys, any kind of offense. Last year proved that because with everybody healthy on our offensive line, everything worked. The same thing can be said about when the 80s, when you had Norv Turner running our offense. You had Emmitt Smith who was balling out. You had a number 1 ranked defense. You had the best offensive line in football. And Troy Aikman, well, he didn't have to throw more than about 17, 18 touchdown passes in a year. And you had a Michael Irvin and Alvin Harper. It's easy to call an offense when all those guys are balling out and healthy. It's real easy to. But our defense, it's up and down, and we can't hold leads. And I think, excuse me, got a little bit of sore throat here. I think we need a change of pace. Rod Martinelli, you cannot argue with what he is able to do with defensive linemen. He has made ballers out of nobodies. You look at what our defensive line has been able to do after losing DeMarcus Ware because of Rod Martinelli. Can't argue with it. But in a whole, I'm just not sure. When you see a guy like Brandon Carr, who was here for 5 years, getting $55 million and not really performing, but goes to Baltimore and all of a sudden, hey, he's damn good. Morris Claiborne, who still stays injured, but he even goes, all of a sudden he's getting interceptions and playing lights out. Why is it guys will leave us and are able to perform in other systems under other coaches, but they can't here? That makes you kind of question, is it the player or is it the coaching? 2015, I was definitely done with Jason Garrett. You had a Brandon Wheaton on your system for a year and a half to coach him. You couldn't win one game with him. But he goes to the Texans and a week and a half later gets thrown into the mix after they've already lost 3 quarterbacks. He wins a game for them in relief and then goes in and starts the next week and wins a game. Brandon Wheaton. But we couldn't get him to bust a grape with us. So is that the player or is that the coaching? You tell me. Well, thank you, my Cowboys family. I appreciate that. Well, every Carr's overrated and overpaid. Well, that's true, but he's more productive in another system than he was here. That's my point. That is my point. I'm not saying that he wasn't over. He, believe me, at 55 million, he stayed healthy, but he didn't wow you. So, oh, Terrence Newman. That's enough. Terrence Newman, we couldn't keep him healthy and on the field, and here he is, father time in Minnesota, playing well. Adam Jones, another one we couldn't do anything with. He's still playing. So you start looking at all these guys that go elsewhere and have great careers, but couldn't do much. DeMarcus Ware, well, went to Denver, got a ring. Yeah. Oh, boy. You Eagle fans are pumping that chest. It's amazing that we couldn't find any of you guys last year. And here's the thing that I'll say. Our season was a failure. I was completely disappointed. I was mad as hell. But you know what? I'm still right here supporting my team. We had Giant fans that are about as obnoxious as you Eagle ones that were here until week 1. They don't come around anymore. So, Eagles fly, Eagles fly. If you guys are out one and done, I hope that you come in here just as strong and show to me that you are a real fan and will stand up for your team. Or are you just going to go ahead and run and hide like a cockroach when the lights come on? Eagles one and done. Right. Dez may leave and make the Giants great again with Odell. Okay. Well, you know what? Receivers hasn't been the problem in with the Giants. I said last year when they signed Brandon Marshall, everybody kept saying, oh, they're going to be lights out with Brandon Marshall. I was like, but you got no offensive line. And Eli Manning's a turnover machine. I said, that's going to fail. Brandon Marshall, after everybody else started getting hurt and the season was done, is like, you know what? Maybe I'll go ahead and get that shoulder surgery done now. I'm done. So that was a mistake right there. You got to look at your needs. Our needs right now, we need a swing tackle. We can't go from having the best offensive line when healthy on the field to nobody. And unfortunately, Jonathan Cooper, who actually has played pretty well quietly, we don't know the extent of his knee injury, but, you're looking at him maybe missing the beginning of the season, which could be catastrophic because we are already short on the offensive line. What you may have to do is maybe you look at drafting another tackle. Maybe you move Collins back to being a guard. But you've also, I think, need to get a veteran swing offensive lineman, a guy who can play any position on the line to fill in for Tyron Smith if he's out, or to fill in for any of these other guys that get hurt, because we can't go from having great offensive line to having crap. You can't have a Chaz Green. You can't have a Byron Bell out there. It just don't work. Yeah, you're right. Cowboys finest. The Eagles, yeah. If they lose, we won't see them until next year. Well, it'll be interesting for the Giants what they do as far as Eli Manning goes, if they will hold on to him or look at blowing the thing up. I, for one, I'm not the GM, but I would look at it like this. At the point my team is right now with 3 victories, with the defensive that's way overpriced that we've got to gut to actually get some cap room, with no offensive line, Eli Manning at best has got 2, maybe 3 years left. Maybe what you try and do is you try and trade him and get something back and start trying to build this team together at the same time. You've got nothing in New York. So by the time you start getting all these draft picks and start getting these guys together, Eli Manning's going to be done and you're going to be without a quarterback. But, it is what it is. The Redskins are another one that's like, okay, they keep talking about, maybe we'll let Kirk Cousins go, but Kirk Cousins is about the best quarterback you've had since Mark Rippon. He didn't cost you 4 draft picks like RG3, and you guys are ready to kick him to the curb. For what? Who are you going to play next year? You don't have a high enough draft pick, really, to try and get an elite quarterback. So are you going to trade up again and try and get somebody else when you already had Kirk Cousins? that you've already invested $45 million in over the last 2 years, yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. Eagles fans are trash. Okay. Well, if you're an Eagles fan, you got to be worried about next in 2 weeks. You know what? Philly Eagles, I will make sure I live stream that game. I will be happy to do that. With 3 picks in the 4th round and 5 in the 2nd round, well, you know, the draft is a crapshoot. We have actually been spoiled over the last 10 years, excuse me, not 10 years, last 7 years in the draft, because every year we've pretty much gotten almost a Pro Bowler. We've had more Pro Bowlers drafted since 2010 than any other team. And I believe last year, when they looked and said, you know, let's get rid of J.J. Wilcox, let's go ahead and get rid of Barry Church, let's get rid of Brandon Carr, let's get rid of Morris Claiborne. It's okay because we'll draft cornerbacks that'll start out and they'll be great. You know, you hit on Tyron Smith, you hit on Travis Frederick, you hit on Zach Martin, you hit on Lyle Collins, so why not? But that's few and far between. It's really, to me, a 50-50 crapshoot with any draft pick that you make. You might get Ezekiel Elliott when you draft a running back that high, or you might end up getting a guy who's a bust. You just don't know. It happens. You know, you might get a Carson Wentz, or you might get a Paxton. Paxton. So hopefully we do well with these 10 draft picks. The thing I worry about is, now that we're firing coaches and GMs, is will McClay become a hot commodity for somebody? If you're Will McClay, you are kind of the de facto GM as far as scouting goes, but I think money talks and BS walks, so to speak. I think if Jerry Jones doesn't give him a big payday or a better title, that you could lose him, and I think that would be a major, major loss for this team. I think he's brought consistency for us for drafting. We've gone through and stopped doing all these crazy trades for players like Roy Williams. We've stopped doing all of this up and down in the draft, going for guys like Morris Claiborne and stuff. That we've been better at moving back and trying to take guys and getting values and trying to create more picks. I hope that we don't lose that one. That's my biggest worry. Dez can't catch, Dak can't throw. Okay. Matt, you're right. The Cowboys are one of the youngest teams in the NFL. And to be honest with you, if you got rid of Jason Witten and Dez Bryant, you would be the youngest team in the NFL. Lonnie, I like that. We're keeping Dak. Happy New Year to all the Cowboy haters. Never trucked a jackass. I like that. Good question on making sense on Tapper. Tapper just did not have the season and did not play much at all this year. And it may have been more a numbers game than anything else. You don't know how he's been practicing, and maybe they just figured, you know, he's just not the one right now. But we'll see what he does this offseason and going into next year. All I want to see is the live stream next week. Okay. Bring Romo back. Okay. Dak, I was open times 100. TLO. Okay. Ooh, man, that's cold. Well, Joe, here's the thing, though, with the free agents. You got to be choosy. The Giants ended up spending $200 million plus on their defense, and it worked for one season. All of a sudden, last year, not so much. And now the problem is they start going through and getting rid of some of those guys, they're going to be left with a lot of dead money. So you've got to be pretty sure about what you're doing, that a guy is not just in a contract year looking for a big payday. You know, a lot of people said we should have re-signed Jason Hatcher. Jason Hatcher had a phenomenal year with us and had 11 sacks. But if you looked at his body of work, he basically averaged about 3.5 sacks every year. And once he went to Washington, he went right back. Thank you, Raymond. You'll be added to the list. No, it's not too early. What happens is whenever you do a super chat or donation, you are entered until you win. So everybody who's already donated before is in there. Anybody else that does gets added to it, and we'll do a weekly drawing. Oh, I'm ready for the draft too, and we're going to be in Dallas for the draft too. Hopefully we'll be doing some different stuff, some tailgates, some meetups, some live streams and stuff like that. I've finally gotten the handle on doing the Mevo. This is actually the second time I've finally gotten it to work outside of actually the house. So that's going to be fun to be able to do. We're looking to do some stuff there at the draft with Law Nation as well. So we're going to make sure we take it up real big time. Oh, what did the Eagles fan tell the planet Saturn? No rings over here. Oh, man. Damn. I'm not in Dallas yet. I'll be there, though, come the draft. Michael Irvin, receivers coach. Okay. Wow, man, that is just wrong about Chaz Green, man. Presley, Michael, you're not far off on that. We definitely need an offensive lineman. We definitely need a wide receiver. We need a game-breaking wide receiver. And I believe we need a linebacker, and I still believe we need a safety. We need a head-hunting safety. We need a guy who will fire people up and scare receivers. You know, you want a wide receiver to think, I don't want to go across that middle because my head might come off. We don't have that fear factor on our defense. Jeff Heath, God bless him. He's gotten a lot of interceptions this year. Great job. I still don't believe he's an every down starting safety. He's not a guy that a wide receiver says, I got to watch my head's going to come off if I go across that middle. He's not an enforcer. Byron Jones, I still believe, is more of a cornerback. He's a freak of nature, can jump out of the building, but he's not a guy who puts you any fear as a safety out there. So, to me, we need a safety. Kevon Frazier has shown, because he had the concussion in training camp, they put him on injured reserve, come back, but they never brought him back on the field. The thing about concussions are some guys can run over and over and over again and never have symptoms. Some people can have one and they're done. They're just not the same. I'm hoping that that's not Rico Gathers, because you got to think that he wasn't playing football since the 8th grade, and he had one concussion and it put him out for that long. Like I said, with David Irving, it makes me worry about him, because him being off of the field as long as he was, that's kind of scary. And that's one of those things that the NFL really needs to look at doing something different as far as his concussions go. I'm interested to see, now that I think we had about 80 or 90 players that use the 0G helmets, which are like the soft shell helmets that are like a bumper, if they've done any research or statistics on the effectiveness of those. The NFL, of course, is not going out and signing those up, because each one of these helmets getting kind of up there in age as well. I'm not sure that he's the guy to bring in. Michael Irvin to teach Dez. Well, here's the problem. Dez Bryant is a little bit old. Dez Bryant is an old dog, and I don't think you're going to teach him any new tricks. And it's a young man's game. When I say that I think it's time to move on from Dez Bryant, I know I'm going to get a lot of venom from people. You know, people still say, oh, man, you got to hold on to him. But I look at Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice was still productive, but Jerry Rice was getting long in the tooth. He was becoming too expensive, and at some point you had to move on. You can't hold on to guys forever. It's a young man's game. But see, yeah, Dez Bryant is 28 years old, but the problem is now he's breaking down. You don't get better at 28. What happens is at 28, you start relying on your skills more than your athletic ability. And the problem with Dez is Dez has never really had great route running discipline. Dez has never had great hand skill. And so what you're seeing is now that he can't just beat people physically, that he's trying to rely on his skills, but his skills aren't quite there. So to think that now, okay, after all these years, we're going to teach him now how to do it, it's too late. Dez is the player that he is now. He's not going to change much. I hate to agree with an Eagles fan, but Philadelphia Eagles fan, you're right. Dez Bryant is fourth highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. You're not getting fourth highest receiver in the NFL production from him, and you haven't in a long, long time. And the problem is he's constantly got nagging injuries. So as much as you may love him, Emmitt Smith was released. Tony Dorsett was released. It's the nature of the game. Guys get old and they have to move on. Dez is Antoine Bolden. I won't say that one. Byron Jones. Well, see, Byron Jones isn't a safety. Byron Jones is more of a cornerback. And I think they did him a disservice because of his rookie year. He never really had one position. He's always constantly changing and stuff like that, and he hasn't gotten all the nuances that he needed. I think he needs to be a straight-up cornerback. Forget ever having him play safety. But until you get somebody who can, you have no choice. Well, to me, here's the thing. I know everybody loves Dez Bryant. I understand that. And I would love to be able to keep Dez Bryant. Maybe move him in the slot. Do something different with him. But he will be nearly 10% of our salary cap. 10%. When you talk about 53 guys on the team, what you have to average per guy basically is about $3.5 million salary-wise. If you're paying him 16, he's eating up, in essence, 5 players' salary on average. Are you getting that much production from Dez Bryant? I don't think you are. Because with that contract, that means maybe that's a linebacker back there. Maybe you got a young stud wide receiver that you drafted that's not costing you $16 million, and that money that you have right there, you got a linebacker, you got a swing offensive lineman, you got a safety. It's too much money for one guy. That is the bottom line. We all forget that in the end, you got to have all of these pieces fit under that cap, and if you spend too much for Dez Bryant, you're going to fail on the rest of the team. If you look back at some of our other years, we had like 8 guys taking up $90 million, between Tony Romo, between Dez Bryant, between DeMarcus Ware, all these big-ass contracts, Miles Austin. You only had chump change to pay the rest of the team. And that's what you got with the backups. That's what you got with the defense. Nobody, because you didn't have enough money to pay anybody. But, wow. It is 10 o'clock already, guys. Jeez, the time just seems to fly by when we're here talking. Thank everybody for tuning in. Happy New Year's. I hope everybody had a great New Year's. I hope 2018 is a prosperous, great year for you. We're going to still be here all off season. We're going to be covering the playoffs. And yes, fly, Eagles, fly. We will live stream during the Eagles game. And you guys better not lose, because I will be talking more cash trash than you will want to hear. But we'll be covering the playoffs, and we will be actually at the Super Bowl, covering the Super Bowl. And, of course, we'll be dealing with the Cowboys, and literally there's always news about the Dallas Cowboys. So, as always, friends, I want to thank you for tuning in. I'm Mark Holmes. This is Cowboy Joe Boo, and we will see you guys on Friday. And we'll do